So yesterday, we got this inflation report that showed the inflation at its lowest number since February of 21. So literally, Joe Biden's first month in office, the last time inflation was as low as it came in yesterday. And it was surprising, obviously, to a lot of the fear-mongers, to a lot of the people who are expecting Donald Trump to skyrocket inflation once again. And the headline, obviously, is 2.3% inflation. The headline is inflation comes in at its lowest number in over 4 years. And that's good. I mean, we talked a lot about it yesterday when this news dropped. 2.3% below the expectations, third straight monthly decline for inflation, and the lowest year-over-year number since February of 21. That's the highlight. But there's a lot in here that also needs to be just at least touched on that I think is valuable for all of us to be aware of. And our buddy EJ Antoni, who does a great job with the Heritage Foundation, highlighted some of this on his X account. Inflation-adjusted weekly paychecks fell 4% under Joe Biden, but they have risen already almost 1% in Trump's second term. So basically, even though, during Joe Biden's 4 years in office, he used to brag about, hey, jobs numbers are pretty good. People have more money. They're making more money. Hourly earnings are up. Yeah, but they were not keeping up with inflation, right? That was the problem for Joe Biden. If you're making more money, but your money doesn't go as far, it doesn't matter. Having more money, but having your lifestyle be more expensive, the same lifestyle, doesn't mean you feel good about your situation. You feel poorer, even if you're making more money, because that dollar's not going as far as it used to, and your wages are not keeping up with the cost of living. That was his problem. So during Joe Biden's term in office, inflation-adjusted weekly paychecks fell 4%. Under Trump, we're about 3 months in, and inflation-adjusted weekly paychecks have risen nearly 1% in literally 3.5 to 4 months. That means that people and their wages are exceeding their cost of living. They are feeling like they're getting a pay raise. Now, it's only 1%, but we're 3 months in, right? We're 3 months in. That is a positive number. And I will share this on X at Pete Mundo so you can see it there. And you can just see the chart for yourself from EJ Antoni. And you can see that at no point during Joe Biden's term did he ever have a positive number for the inflation-adjusted weekly paycheck, which means from the minute this guy got in office, you were basically feeling like you were poor. During his 4 years in office, he was never in the positive on that number. So that's a big deal. Then you get the food prices. So in the food price category, the April drop in food prices was largely driven by the declines of meats, poultry, fish, and eggs. And eggs in particular saw their second largest drop on record since like the late 80s. Now, we know that, I'm not going to go wild about the egg prices dropping because they've been at historic highs because of, the bird flu and having to kill a bunch of chickens at the end of last year and the whole deal. So when you have prices that are sky high on eggs, and that's not Trump's fault, it's not Biden's fault. You had the flu, you had to kill a bunch of chickens, and when you limit the supply of these chickens, well, guess what? The price of the eggs are going to go up. That's just economics 101. So when you see numbers like this and you see the drop in food prices, which we have not seen in years, that's been one of the major problems, right? The grocery store has been just killing people. When you see even a slight downward trend on the food prices, that's a major win. And now we have some of the details that show the food price drop was driven largely by declines of meats, poultry, fish, and eggs. And all great foods, by the way. It's not like Lucky Charms went down, and that's why food prices went down. Or some, Doritos went down. Like, you're talking about good stuff that we got to be eating more of. So that was a big notable win as well. What else do we have here from the inflation report yesterday? Oh, on the food prices as well. How about this? Food prices declining for the first time since November of 2020. Who happened to be in office then? We all know the answer to that, don't we?
Such a nice man.
Here we go. Inflation during Trump's second term thus far is only at 1.6% on an annualized rate. Joe Biden's first 18 months had an 8.6% annualized rate of inflation. And this number of 1.6 is about half of the rate of Joe Biden's final 30 months in office. It is also lower than the average for June of 2009 through 2020, when we had a 1.8% annualized rate of inflation. So I'm not saying that we've kicked inflation in the butt. That would not be an accurate assessment at this point. We don't know how the tariffs will play out come May's numbers. That's where you're probably going to see a bigger impact, if we do see an impact at all. But just know there is so much good in this number from yesterday. And while the media is giving you the headline number, and that's obviously important, that matters, when you actually look under the hood, man, you have got wins left and right. Big wins. And it sure did eat at CNN that they had to report it this way yesterday.
U.S. inflation slowing, to its lowest rate in more than 4 years. That, according to April's Consumer Price Index report. It's an unexpected and very welcome development that's defying economists' expectations amid President Trump's ongoing trade war.
Man. Old Wolf Blitzer, he was looking more constipated than normal there in that clip.
Amidst Trump's ongoing trade negotiations.
Yeah, that's true. That's
trade
true.
war.
Yeah, he's at war.
Oh, my God, we're surviving this war.
Yeah. Mark's safe from tariff war.
Crap.
Oh, my goodness. Meantime, Joe Biden actually had us in multiple wars on multiple fronts. And that was just us helping out our buddies in Ukraine and doing what we got to do in the Middle East and everything else. Meantime, Trump, trade war. Oh, man. That's a good point, though, John. I'm glad you brought that up, because the hysteria in which they report this stuff is just, it's too good to be true, at least for what we do. If you can see through the BS, it's too good to be true, because it's so easy to make fun of. And it's also just so transparent on what's going on, right? I mean, when you step back and you actually read the words and think about it for a second, like John just did there, you're like, what planet are these people living on? Even with good news, they're trying to fearmonger through good news. We're in the middle of a war, and somehow, some way.
The Chinese won. Trump's backing down.
Oh, man. Well, food prices down and, restaurant prices also were off slightly. I don't know, man. We may have to make a trip together.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
It might have to do it.
Thank you notes to President Xi, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks for helping us get our food down.
Thank you there.
Yeah,
appreciate you, Chi.